And welcome back to another SuperCoach video with me, JD. You are joining me for a very special video. We're on the eve of SuperCoach opening to everyone for 2023. And joining me is our Paton, SuperCoach editor at News Corp, who is going to run us through in this two-part video series a little bit about the 2022 changes, how they went, and then what that means for 2023 and the changes they're making in the game for the year ahead. It's going to be a two-part video. So the first part on my channel, the second part over at the SuperCoach official YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed to that, ready for the explanations of the changes that have been made for the game going forward. But firstly, Al, thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
Thank you, JD. No, I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be back into it. And yeah, can't wait for, we've sort of, I think a lot of keen super coaches have been tinkering with teams for a while now, but it'll be great to have the game officially open. And, we're off and running with, the countdowns on to round one.
It's a very exciting time of year. I mean, it's the Christmas for super coaches, really. It's we're on the eve of it now, pending everything going well with release, of course, but looking forward to being open to everyone. So as I kind of mentioned, we're going to split this up into two parts. And the first is really going to be talking through what happens in the preseason between, I guess, when SuperCoach ends and now, and what are you guys really thinking about as you modify, look at, kind of reflect on the game over the off season? What inputs do you use, and what are you kind of prioritizing towards or trying to get when it comes to the outcomes of SuperCoach in the year ahead?
Yeah, well, no, thanks for having me on. Good topic to talk about, because there's obviously heaps of keen players out there who are just really invested in the game, which is fantastic. We love that. And a lot of them have ideas and feedback, and we do try and listen to what everybody's saying, because at the end of the day, we just want to make the best game that is enjoyable and easy to play. And I guess when we're talking about what's happening in the offices at the Herald Sun, where I'm based, and we've got people around the country, but it's a pretty small team from an editorial point of view, working on KFC SuperCoach, as we have to say. The last few couple of months, really, a lot of our time has been focusing on KFC SuperCoach BBL, because we have multiple sports. Obviously, during the winter, the big game is AFL, and they play NRL up in Sydney, I believe. But yeah, they have a few people play that. They're our two biggest games, and then BBL over the summer is our sort of little cousin that is, I find, a bit of fun just to. I suppose what was originally footy was supposed to develop to keep cricketers fit during the winter, but it's sort of the other way around. It just gives you something to do to keep our toes in the SuperCoach water over the summer. And somehow I'm ranked about 200th overall in BBL, which is pretty crazy, because I certainly pay a lot closer attention to the AFL, and it's quite a different game with you just got trades all the time and players coming and going and buys and teams playing twice in a round and all kinds of crazy things, but it's a bit of fun. But anyway, so we're working on that and putting out content to go with that as well, officially as part of the game. But at the same time, we are looking ahead to, obviously, from my point of view, the AFL season coming. And yeah, we're always talking about, we get together during mid-season and then at the end of the season to discuss, what worked, what didn't work, what do we think can improve in the game. And a lot of that is sort of, under the hood, as you might say, behind the scenes stuff that just tidies up, how things work on the site to make things run cleaner and remove any glitches that there might be. And people will get into this maybe in part two, but yeah, they've done a lot of work on that this year to just make the site easier to navigate and things like that. So there's those sort of things are always happening. And then there's obviously bigger changes, which we had quite a few of last year. And so we're, I guess probably it's worth explaining to people that SuperCoach is a big part of what I do at News Corp, but even for me, it's not my entire job. I'm sort of part of the digital sport network, and probably the guys that I work with the closest are the Phantom, who's based over in Adelaide, and then we've got Tim Mitchell and Dan Batten there in Melbourne as well. And we all love our SuperCoach, and you'll see a lot of the SuperCoach content comes out of our little team there. But we're sort of part of the digital sport team more broadly. So we're also covering, obviously all the footy news that's happening in the last few months have been pretty massive with international sport, and people will who are on the Herald Sun website especially will see Tim's a maniac, and he'll be live blogging. I think he live blogged the World Cup final at 2 a.m. or whatever that was, and then he was live blogging the Australian Open tennis last night. So I mean, I guess it'd be I'd love a world where we could just spend all our time on SuperCoach, but there's a lot of other stuff going on as well. But yeah, we do love the game and really pay a lot of attention to it. And we're obviously talking about it a lot in the office and on all our chats and things that are going on. And yeah, I suppose it's worth pointing out that that's, where we are is in editorial. So we're producing a lot of the content, whether it's videos or obviously a lot of articles, podcasts, those kind of things all around the game and social media that people will see. But that's just sort of part of a broader News Corp operation that's going on. That today I've just come from. We had a marketing shoot going on where I can reveal that Heath Shaw is our ambassador again for this year. So he was there with, and NRL were doing it as well with their ambassador, and had filming all the marketing material that'll get done. You'll see rolling out over the preseason, and so there's all kinds of other marketing and business type people associated with the. It all comes together to make SuperCoach happen. And then obviously you've got the guys at Virtual Sports, and Peter Jankulowski, who people might know, is pops up on Twitter every now and then, who sort of really runs the show down there, absolute guru on all things fantasy. So we take a lot of steer from him in terms of, he's really, got his hands all over it all the time. So he can see when things are maybe not working as well as they could be, or, he's watching what other games are doing and what we could do to improve. So yeah, Pete has obviously a huge say in all that. And sometimes we might come up with a brilliant idea that we think is, we should just do this. And then Pete explains, well, that actually would take, months of work and be this enormous project. But then other things he's like, actually, that's a good idea. We should do that. So there's a lot of, backwards and forwards conversations going on. And then really a lot of it changes are just responding to what is happening in the footy world. If the AFL decides to add an extra bye, then we have to, suddenly figure out, well, what does that mean in terms of SuperCoach and how are we going to do that? And obviously, we had the ultimate experience of that through, the real couple of COVID years that we had, where there was, really some decisions being made on the fly about, players coming out in the last minute or games getting postponed in one case, and how do we try and deal with those sort of things. So I'm not sure how clear that was. It kind of all of that goes into the mix, but we're all trying to make the game. We love it and we love playing it. And I guess the other thing just to mention from an editorial point of view is, and Pete's thinking the same thing, that you're always trying to balance the the people who are just like have their head in SuperCoach all the time versus because we're all part of the same family, but players who just come, sign up a week before the season starts, pick a team, play against their mates, and they're just logging in maybe once a week to make a trade and pick their captain, and they're happy at just playing it that way. And there's a lot of people who play like that. So we're trying to make it great for everyone.
Yeah, so if I kind of play it back to you, it's a small team across both News Corp but also Virtual Sports that are kind of collaborating together to figure out what are the changes or tweaks we can make that have the biggest impact and enjoyment for the overall playing base, both hardcores and maybe more casual fans and players, but then also prioritizing it with, time. There's a few resources, a lot of different sports, and you've got to make sure that these changes are scalable and actually have the impact. It sounds like a really difficult challenge because I'm sure anytime you go onto Twitter, there's no shortage of feedback from people like me and others as well on how it could make the game better and what you could do. And it's like, yeah, that all looks nice, but realistically, most of these aren't possible. So it sounds like a really difficult challenge. And then I guess just in terms of what are the outcomes you're trying to achieve, just to dig into a little bit, I would have guessed as a fan kind of looking on, it's how do you grow the overall game, get as many people playing as possible. Second, I would say, with the SuperCoach Gold, making sure that's a valuable proposition and people want to sign up and use that. And then the third would be kind of making sure that the content that you've got supporting it really then drives that traffic towards Herald Sun and seeing that engagement across the two. Have I kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to like what you're trying to weigh up and prioritize towards here?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a really interesting operation to sort of work on, because you do have a lot of not competing, but you've got a lot of different things that you're trying to factor in all the time. And the number one is we want as many people playing the game as possible. And then I suppose the overall number of players has sort of plateaued a little bit over the last few years, but what has definitely increased is the percentage of those players who like really take it really seriously. And they're the ones who do engage with a lot of our content and do sign up for SuperCoach Plus. And so, that's, even when we're talking about new ideas and new innovations, there's discussions around, well, that'd be a great feature for SuperCoach Plus subscribers. And then there's something else which this would make available for everybody. So, you've always got those different considerations. And with the editorial, that sort of goes into, one of our key metrics that we're measured on is we're trying to sign up digital subscribers to people to subscribe to the Herald Sun or Code Sports, which is also sort of part of our family, or any of the other sort of mastheads. So, we're trying to achieve that at the same time as, promoting SuperCoach, getting people into SuperCoach and helping them, enjoy the game more and, providing information, whether it's, classic, rookie Bible. So, that's really valuable stuff that, people might subscribe for, which is fantastic from our point of view and, from the bottom line. But at the same time, hopefully that's people are picking better teams. They're more competitive for longer and, get to stay involved and engage and enjoy the game more. So, so there's a lot of things that you're trying to consider, but at the end of the day, there's many people as we have playing and enjoying SuperCoach. We're all winners.
Yeah, great. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that last part around how do you help people stay engaged for longer and play for longer nicely transitions us into some of the changes that were made for the 2022 season, because it seems like a lot of this was kind of in mind when these changes were made. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on, did they achieve the kind of goals that we've talked about and kind of reflect on what worked and what didn't work? Maybe we should start with a couple of the biggest changes that we saw to the game last year, which was 5 additional trades going from 30 to 35, and then the trade boosts that were brought in initially to kind of help. Both of these were kind of initially to help with COVID, but I think we saw uses that far exceeded that. So were you happy with how those changes went? And can we kind of see these being persisted with, or are they going to be reverted in future years?
Yeah, no, I think the feedback was really overwhelmingly positive to pretty much all those new changes last year, and especially those two. And yeah, like you said, it was a bit of around the COVID discussion that we thought, people might need these emergency trades and things, but I don't think we could take them away now. I mean, for starters, who knows what's happening with COVID, but as you said, people really adapted to them, and it made it really, it was really a dynamic feature of the game last year that, how people deployed those different strategies and, made, the tactics were a bit different. It's sort of interesting to remember back in the day when SuperCoach had, I think, like 20 trades or 24 trades for the whole year.
Yeah, it was very low. It used to be very low,
rationing them was really part of the strategy. Like, how do you, try and minimize how many trades you're using at certain times of the year to make sure you've got some when you need them later on. But, gradually through circumstance and, we've added to that. And, I think there's still some really hardcore old school players who, look fondly back at those days. But I think generally speaking, everybody loves the option to be able to trade more often. And I think, anytime we bring in a change like this, you'll find the people who play, really, take it seriously and are really plugged in will always find a way to use that to their advantage. So even at the same time as you're making the game, maybe easier for some of those more casual players, the serious players, find a way to use those extra trades and the trade boosts. But last year was, having the extra trades, I think, really helped when we were, getting these great mid prices that all came flying out of the blocks early. And, I think a lot of people burn through their trade boosts pretty quickly as well to try and, get their finished teams together as quickly as possible. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, whether, the same, benefits unfold or whether there's maybe some advantages to holding back a little bit more, or I don't think it's a settled question, but definitely we're really happy with those, and they are back for 2023 and for the foreseeable future anyway.
Yeah, perfect. I like what you're touching on here, which is part of the charm of SuperCoach is that you have to ration or like kind of trade off how you use your resources and how you deploy them throughout the year. But then we also know that trading is one of the most fun parts of the game. It's just the reality. So how do you have both of these things coexist at the same time? And kind of being able to choose when you deploy those trades through trade boosts is actually like a really interesting way to kind of still create the same dynamic, but let you trade more throughout the year. So, I mean, it's a huge change in the positive direction. And I guess I think it must also give you and the team confidence that maybe you can do some more adventurous changes in the future if you decide to go that way, just given how well this kind of big step was received. All right, let's then shift gears and talk a little bit about SuperCoach Plus, which also saw probably some of the biggest updates it's had in the last few years as well, with things like live scoring coming in, as well as the trade assist feature, which was a really interesting thing to add in. How were those received? And how did you feel they landed with those that pony up and subscribe to Plus?
Well, just purely in terms of the number of people who use SuperCoach Plus, we'll give it a tick because it's the graph is going up each year, and we had another nice bump last year. So I think it's up to like nearly 50K people who
That's
subscribe to that for the year. So, and then I don't think that figure even includes so if you are a Herald Sun or a Code Sports subscriber, that includes SuperCoach Plus. It's always a little sort of a tricky thing to explain. You always get a couple of messages in the preseason where people say, "Hang on, I subscribe to SuperCoach Plus, but I can't read Robbo's top 50 or something." And it's like, if you subscribe to the Herald Sun, you get SuperCoach Plus, but not the other way around. But so understandably, some people get a bit muddled sometimes. But so anyway, so the numbers on that are really good. And I mean, I really like a lot of those features. And another one which I've found, I probably didn't really use it much during the actual AFL season, but I've used it in the BBL and it's been fantastic, is the trade assist. So, sorry, not trade assist, the update trades. So, we've been able to reverse.
Of course. Yeah.
Been able to reverse trades, obviously, for a while, but this update feature that, you can make a trade. And because I was always one of these people who would wait, like I think my brother got caught out once by trading in Marcus Bontempelli, 5 years ago. And then he got injured he even waited till the final teams, right, I'm safe, trade him in. And then he rolled his ankle in the warm up or something. And so then, he blind a trade. So I would always wait, almost sometimes watching the games until players are like, the huddle's broken up. And especially, I think I traded in Josh Kelly once, and it's like, I'm not hitting confirm on this trade until he's like literally lined up on the wing. But this makes it so much easier that you can make that trade on a Friday. And then if Kelly's are laid out, you can then go in and update the trade. And I had to do this I've done it a couple of times in BBL with, I think, Jai Richardson when he got injured a couple of weeks ago. People are following the BBL. He's like one of the highest scoring bowlers. And then he got hurt. But so you're able to, the trade player who you're trading out has already played, so he's locked. But if the player you're trading in has not played yet, you can update the trade and swap him for anybody else who's still available and not locked. So, I reckon that is a really fantastic feature as well. So, big tick for all of those.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. I can't even believe, it slipped my mind, but you're right. It's one of the best features, just being able to update those trades throughout the weekend so much easier than you ever could before. And I must say, I do listen to some of the other content creators in other fantasy games, and they have both been jealous of the boosts that were added as well as that update trade feature. I think big points of difference is just for how much easier it makes it for people to kind of navigate things throughout the year, but also adds that enjoyment and fun. However, with that said, there's one thing that I do know they have, which is very highly sought after. And there's been other people that have kind of created side sheets and things to try and calculate, which is live ranks and scoring throughout the year. With live scoring being added, has there been any conversations about whether live ranks is something that maybe could be added in the future?
The conversation, it has been raised. There are, I'm not going to name any names, but I actually wouldn't mind it. But there's some other opinions that don't necessarily love it as much. So I think it's an ongoing discussion. But I think it'll be good. I think the argument against it is that can maybe be a bit unrealistic because, you might jump 1,000 places in the rankings after the first game because you just happen to have one player who did really well. And then by the last game, it all the dust all settles and you're sort of back where you started. But I mean, I don't really see the harm in that. It's like a good, point of discussion over the weekend. So, maybe I'll keep fighting for that one because, I reckon it'd be good fun.
I think that's a call for everyone in the comments below to discuss how much you would love to see live ranks, and the feedback might help Al on his fight for the good cause. And then lastly, it's definitely not my forte, but I had a lot of fun drafting with you boys last year and just playing that mode and going through the, scarce, not everyone can own the same player, but the draft format. The draft itself was obviously a lot of fun. But there were some changes that were made to that last year. How did you find draft players enjoyed those changes? And how were they received?
I mean, again, as with SuperCoach Plus, the number of people playing draft is ticking up each year. And I think the feedback has been good. I'm a bit like you in that I'm, so full on into the classic form of the game that I don't spend a heap of time on draft, which I would love to get more into that because, as you say, actually holding a draft is really fun. And I mean, I suppose one thing I noticed last year was I did pay a bit more attention to my team during the year. And I always found it tricky trying to do live trades with other teams, which I know some people are great and they love doing that, but I always found that a bit of a challenge. But what I did was able to do, even without going to that extent, is, just chopping and changing players who were in and out of form and grabbing guys off the wire, the waiver wire, who, Mason Redmond all of a sudden is in hot form, and nobody's got him in their team. So if you're quick enough, you can grab him, and you can make changes that way. Which I actually found I had quite a lot of success doing that last year, maybe because not everyone was paying as close attention to it as I was. But yeah, that was really good fun as well, actually. And yeah, especially when you can't always get on and off players that easily in your classic team. Sometimes you just have to sit it out and accept that you're stuck with someone or that you can't get them. But yeah, again, and a lot more changes to that. And I think Pete at Virtual Sports loves the draft side of it, so he's always tinkering with that. And there's a lot more changes coming this year, and a lot of it is just just making things smoother, easier, more tools. So I think we introduced mock drafts last year, and they were very popular. And there'll be more of that sort of thing this year, and more more customization, so you can really just play it however you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great features from 2022. We haven't even gone to the mock drafts being added is the best. I play NFL fantasy in the off season, and being able to just do the mock drafts before your big one, always one of the funnest parts for me. And being able to test and practice and see how you're going. And we didn't even touch on league sizes and the customization with that, which added a lot as well. You saw a lot of different leagues and combinations, and also how you set them up, which was great. So lots of great changes that were made, and it seems like they're all received pretty well. So it might be time for us to jump to part 2 of this video, which will be on the SuperCoach official channel, where we're going to go through the changes for 2023 and the logic behind that. And then for those viewing, I haven't been privy to any of these. I'm hearing them for the first time, so you're going to get some honest reaction from me. Hopefully it's all positive, but you may get some puzzled looks.
We'll test it out on you. So yeah, as you said, it's well, hopefully, assuming we'll hit the button and everything works the way it should be midnight or 12:01 a.m. Tonight. We'll have KFC SuperCoach will be open live AFL for 2023. So yeah, you'll be able to test out all the changes there.
Excellent. All right, see you in the next video.